What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody's out there surviving. I was just going through the latest news. Supposed to be a heat warning, heat wave coming. We got issues in with the wars. One lady, this is the headline. It says she served her estranged husband's family beef Wellington. Within 3 days of the meal, the three guests died. I'm thinking that's an insurance play. We got signals from Antarctica ice. It's a defy laws and physics. Scientists are searching for answers. Strange signals detected. Leave them there. They don't watch the movies. Leave that signal there. Leave it alone. We already know who the culprit is going after the signal. There's no need to play games. We know. We know it. We know it is not of a certain hue. We know that. Certain melanin, we know that. What's going on, W? I'm not sure who W is, but hello. Chief Chocolate, what's going on? Rosanna, is it Ross Scenario? Uh, Rosa Reno. Sorry. I screwed that all up. Good morning. Thank you. KD King, what's going on? Haven't seen you in a minute. And Carol, you said, what is the difference apart from the cost? Well, the difference is the different offerings. One on, not necessarily one on ones, but the QA sessions, for the 300K to 500K. The 100K don't get any type of like hidden content or anything of that nature. But yeah, I got to do a better job of pushing out more content. I have plenty of content, and plenty of videos that we have not posted. So I need to do that. But the goal is to make sure everyone gets the pathway to get to 300K, 500K, and I've shown that even from behind, not even within those shows, just really just in general, I've shown that as well too. So that's really the reason there. And also, we've been putting together behind the scenes uh, financial classes, career classes, some coaching. Some friends of mine that are BCs, people who own different car dealerships or a part of car dealerships, especially y'all that go out and look for uh, the tricks and the rules of financing cars and things that they try to do. Just overall, just try to bring some idea of just as you continue down your path, what does it look like for you to to keep your money and to grow your money. Chico, what's going on? Seen Nvidia's roadmap. They were talking about the 600 kilowatt per rack in data centers and what? Yep, yep, yep. They're gonna have to be if they're gonna keep up with all the AI stuff and the GPUs and just the churn of people doing creating models and so forth, which is a good segue into what I want to talk about this morning. So the show is gonna probably run in two parts. So you just bear with me. I still have the AI stuff from last week, and then just some overall information that I think that will help you all out. So let's roll into the. I don't want to go through the whole video. I'm just gonna kind of scroll through the video. Um, it is the introduction to into high paying tech jobs, right? And this is for the next decade. I'm just gonna give you my opinion on those, and then we can go from there. I need to share my screen again. It was already shared. I'll do it again. All right, let's go. And let me know if you all can hear. You should be able to hear this.
Jobs of the next decade are ones you've probably never heard of. I mean, forget the usual.
So let me know. Can y'all hear that? You should be able to hear that. It's on Safari. And that should be good. Let me double verify. All right, cool. All right. So I'm not going to go through the whole video. I'm just gonna point out the highlights in the video. All right, so one of the first one that comes up is she's got quantum computing. I've talked about this a million and one times on quantum computing. I've talked about the different, and I've talked about quantum computing probably about 4 or 5 years now. It's not a new thing. Um, I think I've been talking about quantum computing since 2020. Everybody's like AI, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But also, it's about not just getting in the game, but being at the foundational part and going all the way through, right? So when I say that, I give you my perspective of about Linux. When I first started with Linux, it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing. So living in the Seattle area, of course, Microsoft is huge. So everybody is like, "Oh, so you don't have your Microsoft certification? We're looking for Microsoft folks." But there was a hidden underlying of people that needed Linux skills. In this case, it was colleges and government and state, and ironically, um, places like the police department, places like schools. When I say schools, I'm talking about high schools, elementary schools. It was just a one of those hidden things. You didn't hear about it. It was just kind of like you stumbled upon it, right? So I did volunteer work for the police department. They were moving out from Novell and going to Linux, and I went and volunteered, came over, did some work, and then after a while, I was like, I don't want to do this. They just keep giving me grunt work. This is not really what I want to do. So I ended up getting a job at the school, at the at the I guess you could say community college or JUCO, whatever. And I ended up working on different flavors of Linux there. All right. Please don't name your child Quantavius. Quanta, Quant, Quantavis. Please don't name him Quantavis. All right. So, with that being said, it was always these hidden areas that needed Linux. Linux didn't blow up like that. Linux wasn't even popular if we move forward to I would even say like people would know the word. Like they would like, oh, I know what Linux is. People didn't even know the word really mainstream. I want to say maybe 2012. Yeah, maybe yeah, 2010, 2012, right in there. And then that's when the Linux Academy came out. There was there was no other academies except for LPIC had one. You always had the Linux Plus with CompTIA, and Red Hat didn't even have their training out. So it wasn't like it was one of those big things. And that's how I feel about quantum computing. There are certain sectors that are using quantum computing. It's not popular, so people are not looking at it. And those who are in those areas are the ones that be the you'll have the years of experience without people bothering you. In other words, you'll be able to accelerate in those careers. Everybody's doing AI right now. Everybody is just I'm going AI, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And we're going to get a little bit more into AI today. But I'm just pointing out that it's better to be where people are trying to figure out where it fits in at versus they've already figured it out. Because when they already have figured it out, your price, your request and your pricing goes down. When I say your request and your price, I mean the pay that you're requesting. Like I require 250,000 for this job, right? That starts to go down. People start flooding the market and so forth. Like you don't even hear now, um at least I don't see it. I don't never hear anybody talk about, um do you program in Java? Do you program in C++? Plus plus? Or I know they're still out there. It's just you don't hear it as often. You just don't hear that stuff as often, right? So that's just my take on it. All right, so she's got quantum computing as one of her first ones. I'm just gonna slide through these. I'm not gonna play the video. So I just thought it was interesting what her take was. All right, so that's all of quantum. The next one she has is geographic information systems. So GIS, right? So there's ArcGIS, there's GIS. When we start talking about geographic information system, and let's be clear, she's saying for the next decade. I'm telling you, GIS has been around at least 15, 20 years, if not more. So that's not, it's not a new thing. Like AI is not new. Quantum is not new, right? These are not new things. They've been around for a while, right? So you can go look up GIS. Let me pull up some stuff so you can have some context, because you're like, oh, I don't know what GIS is. So let's use ChatGPT to tell you what it is, right? From their perspective, and I'll tell you how I've seen it. It is a framework for gathering, managing, analyzing, and visualizing spatial and geographic data. GIS allows users to understand patterns, relationships, trends through maps, 3D scenes, and data layers. So let's pull this together. Remember when I was saying that I don't never hear, and maybe I said this on a meetup, and some of you have never been to my meetup. I've said this before. The whole the whole notion centered around digital signal processing and satellites, um are a is a real thing. And so where you don't think GIS has anything to do with satellites? Of course it does. What GIS does, capture data from satellite images, GPS, sensors, and surveys. All of that is a whole is you can get into satellites and understanding satellites using Linux. That's why you hear everybody always talking about, oh, Starlink, or you hear people talking about all these different things. Where we were talking about GPS, GIS, all that comes into play. Like that is a thing. It's not new. It's not new. It is there. And you only hear people tell you go to school, get your degree in computer engineering or computer science or electrical engineering, maybe even mechanical or something of that nature. But there's a whole subset of engineers that work on GPS, satellites, uh, capturing data, working with sensors, tiles, digital signal processing. It's a whole thing. And the reason why I picked this video, because yeah, that's the surface part, but I wanted to go underneath and talk about the other things that lead up to that. These are just very general, but there are things that lead up to that. Let me see what else it says here. Spatial data. You don't think Tesla uses GIS? You don't think anything that's autonomous is using charts, maps, 3D models, 3D scenes, layering data on. I even liken the Google Earth and so forth, right? Those these things are jobs. These concepts, this is a job, right? So don't just go by the name, dig a little deeper into it. Let me pull up and see. I can tell you what companies are using it. Oh, here's great for great breakdown right here. So it says common GIS usage is urban planning with zoning, transportation planning, infrastructure, environmental science. emergency response with disaster mapping, telecommunications for network coverage mapping, logistics, route optimization, supply chain tracking, and real estate. Most definitely real estate. Yep. So Esri ArcGIS is one. QGIS is open source. Google Earth Engine, Grass QIS is another one. Using and people do this all the time with your if you live in any proximity to natural disasters, they're using models to predict one your zoning, your flooding, what's going on in New York. What they're saying, New York is sinking every year. Same way with Miami sinking every year. Same way with New Orleans every year. Right, just giving you some concepts of like how you see these things every single day and you just don't even realize that these things are jobs. You using your Google map or your map on your Apple device, there's something behind it, using maps, 3D tiles, data, GIS for presenting that data back to you, right, along with satellites. All right, let's continue. I'm going to slide through to the next one. All right, so she said GIS. The next one she's got creative technology merging art and code. We know about that. Creating merging art and code. I'm gonna play this so she can give you her breakdown, and then I give you my breakdown. Let's break the monotony. Hold on.
A real job. Creative technologists live at the intersection you can think of art and code. They use tools like Unity, Unreal Engine, and Touch Designer to build immersive installations, interactive theater, AR, VR apps that don't just tell stories, but make you feel like you are inside of them. I mean,
so I liken all of that to Roblox gaming, uh, and anything like she said, AR, VR, interaction, right? Interaction. I even liking when she says merging art with code. A lot of the designers have start taking on, you know, your active wear with sensors and data, that can read your body temperature, cool you off. What is that like? Sending alerts and stuff like that. Even I would not even be surprised as we continue, and we've seen it. It's not everybody using it. Is merging code and I don't even want to say art, but merging code with your beds, like checking for your sleep patterns. Where do you sleep at in the bed? What's going on? Right now it's on the watch. But imagine if I can lay in the bed and I get all those touch points. I get more touch points from you laying in the bed than versus just on your arm. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a thing in the future, if not already now. All right, so let's go. The role of prompt engineering, I don't need to tell you about that. You already know about that. Service oriented architecture. I have mentioned this several times, but I don't think people have caught on when it comes to service oriented architecture. All right. Yeah, I know smart beds is a thing. Let me pull up here and let's go here. Um, mm, 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 mm. Let's look at, I want to look at an image. All right. So let's go with this one here. I made that's on Medium. I don't want to read anything on Medium because I don't want to pay anybody. Let me look for a good one that breaks things down. Look for a good example here. Maybe this one. Let's go here. All right. So, oh, they just got the bottom part. They don't talk about everything else. But either way it go, um, that's fine. Let me back out of this. All right, here we go. All right. A service-oriented architecture. A service is a self-contained and loose coupling logic. In SOA, traditional monolith applications, meaning I have a web server and a database all sitting on one on a VM or coupled together. When we start talking about microservices, you're saying, hey, I'm going to take this web front end and this database, I'm going to separate those two. I'm going to create microservices out of those to make them, to separate them. So if my front end goes down, in which it shouldn't, because I'm creating probably a deployment of three with three replicas or deployment or back end. There may be a hot or however you want that configured. That should never go down. That's the introduction of Kubernetes for that. All right, so here, service providers, or I say, I back up here. In SOA, traditional monolithic applications are divided into services collaborating to achieve common goals. Service provider registers services to private or public service registries. Service consumers find or discover services at the interest against the registry to consume, bind, and invoke the services. Right, so they talk about uh the service consumer, the service provider, and so forth, right? But really, when you start breaking it down into here, and this is what they're talking about here, where you got the legacy, uh, basically a mono app, a monolithic here, and then here you have your repository for and governance. And when they talk about governance, let's be clear, we're talking about policies, we're talking about uh I don't want to call it best practices, but that's really what it is. What are the best practices that we need to put in place at every layer, right? At every layer, when we're talking about data, when we're talking about messaging, when we're talking about services, we're talking about processes, when we're talking about event monitoring and management. And the same thing for security all the way through, right? So here is this is an old model. This is from 2007, right? But it says microservices, and this is when we start talking about microservices, what I just explained. Microservices, a microservice is a basic element that results from the architectural decomposition of an application's components into loosely coupled patterns consisting of self-contained services that communicate with each other using a standard common protocol and a set of well-defined APIs. And that's where you start seeing the birth of looking at um, Kubernetes coming into play, or the Borg if you're looking at the old the old the Google version of it, and where it all started from, right? So they start getting in. This goes on to, again, the containers, orchestration, so forth and so on. And then there's the SOA manifesto. There's the oriented architecture for reference down here. I wonder what reference are they using for this. They went to Wikipedia, which is fine. Wikipedia doesn't. Yeah, they got the old diagram, and that's not what I want. Let's go to the manifesto. So this is the manifesto, and it's in different languages, but basically it says service orientation is a paradigm that frames what you do. Service oriented architecture is a type of architecture that results from applying service orientation. We have been applying service orientation to help organizations consistently deliver sustainable business value with increased agility and cost effectiveness in the line with changing business needs. Through our work, we have come to prioritize business value, which is what everyone you hear talks about. Everyone you hear talks about the business value, the strategic goals, the intrinsic in the opportunity, or over custom integration, shared services, flexibility and evolutionary refinement, or the pursuit of initial perfection. Like, we hear all these things in all interviews all the time, in companies all the time, right? If I do this, the business value over the technical strategy, if I do this, what's my ROI on it? What how does it serve us and the customer, right? The strategic goals, right? What's our north star? What are we aiming for? What are we trying to get out of this, right? Intrinsic inoperability over custom integration, meaning I can make this one time and then plug and play for other customers. I don't want to have to do the one offs, because once you start doing the one offs, then you lose your baseline, right? Shared services. You've heard this and say this before, but think agile. Shared services over specific purpose implementations, meaning I have a set of services that help everyone, from the customer to our own internal customers. So I'm providing shared services. You can think of a good example of a shared service would be a backup plan. All right. How do you do backups? That'll be a shared service. DNS will be a shared service. So think of things that you would need throughout. Everyone needs DNS. Everyone needs a way to back up something. There may be different applications that you may use, but a backup is a backup. And then flexibility. Am I able to flex something in and out? Can I swap things in and out? What does that look like, right? So then they go on to their guiding principles and so forth. Now, service oriented architecture, as you saw on that Wikipedia page, is from 2007. Again, not new. It has already been there. These are not new. All right. And this video is posted from 1 day ago. All right. So I'm gonna let her give her spiel, and you guys can take it from there.
More. It has to be flexible, scalable, and easy to update. And SOA breaks apps into services, little independent components that do one thing well and talk to each other over APIs. This lets companies deploy updates without crashing the entire system. A really good example of this is Netflix. It runs this model. There are separate services for streaming, recommendations, billing, I mean, the list goes on. And if one breaks, the other keeps going. That's how.
Now, remember, Netflix runs exclusively in Amazon. So if you really look at Amazon, Amazon breaks everything out into services too, right? They follow the SOA model as well. So if you use Amazon, Google, Azure, you're already utilizing uh, SOA without you knowing that you're utilizing SOA. Everything is broken up into a service. Everything has its own department. Someone is steadily updating those services with the latest and greatest functionality.
They stay reliable for, the time of this video, I think it's like 200 million plus users globally, probably more by the time it's released. To build this way, you need to learn API design, containerization with Docker, orchestration with
Docker, not
Kubernetes,
doctor.
and service monitoring. Okay, coming in at number 6 is facilities tech integration. Now, this is really about turning buildings into smart, self-optimizing.
Okay, we've seen this smart buildings, right? You even if you've been in Portland, they have the smart sidewalks, right? Smart infrastructure. As you're walking along on the sidewalk, by the time you get to the sidewalk across the street, the light is already ready for you to move, right? We've seen these things, right? We've seen all these things already. You just didn't know what the name of it was. Your smart cities, your even at your if you are not even paying attention, your car is a smart car, right? You get ads and things thrown at you all the time, right? And then especially if you're using something like um a Volvo or Apple CarPlay or whatnot. The whole goal was to start sending you coupons to your car. Oh, you're in the area. Oh, you just drove past blah 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 blah, and they got 2 for 1 over there. Would you like to use the coupon? Like, those things are, you're getting ads in your car every day. Not just the ads from what they're saying, but just ads just in general. Right? You drive past something, you didn't even realize you drove past the next thing you know, you're looking on Instagram and it's talking about something that you just drove past. You're like, wait a minute, why am I getting that now? Why are you telling me about this? So just keep in mind. All right, so that's the one. She got smart buildings right here. The next one up is low code, no code. We know about that. We've seen that. We've talked about that. RPA. We've talked about that. The next one, digital twin technology. Let's see what she's saying. What digital twin technology is, and I tell you, it's probably got another name.
With. I mean, imagine a living, breathing simulation of a real world system, updated in real time with live data. That's essentially a digital twin. You can have one for a building, a factory, a wind turbine, or even a human organ, which is really, really fascinating. You tweak the simulation, test different scenarios, and see how the real system might respond. Now, an example of this is Siemens built a digital twin of a manufacturing line. So before changing anything physically, they simulated different layouts. And by doing this, they reduced production downtime by 30%. No physical trial and error was needed. No money had to be spent. Well, not the amount that would have been spent anyways. Now, to work in this space, you'll need 3D modeling, things like Blender, experience with IoT data streams, and visualization patterns. And I always say things you need to work in the.
All right, so you got an idea of that. The next one up, you already know what this is. You know it's true to my heart. Edge computing. You've heard me say it before. Didn't change. Been talking about it since 2020. Again, your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your car, edge computing. You're already doing it. You're already in it. So let's go. Let's hear her satellites. Let's hear her play it out, and then we're gonna shift into some other stuff.
This is a really trendy term right now. Now, edge computing essentially brings the cloud to the edge. So let me explain here. Instead of sending all your data to a distant data center, edge computing lets devices process data locally, which means it's faster and lower latency. I mean, take Tesla as an example. Its cars don't rely on the cloud to make decisions. That would be very scary. It would take a while, even seconds instead of milliseconds. They process camera and sensor data right on the vehicle, so they can brake, steer, or accelerate instantaneously.
All right, so looking at this, let's talk about it. What you see right here is probably 4 topics discussed in one. So, service oriented architecture, that's one. Edge computing, one. It's another one. The other one, I would not even be surprised if there's probably a digital twin from all the driving and the data that they've collected. And I would not be surprised if they made like a digital twin of cities and routes and so forth. I would not be surprised with that. Right? What's the other one that I'm leaving out? What's the other one that I'm leaving out? GIS. GIS. So that's 4 topics probably already combined into one just in Tesla. You can take that same thing and add it to any autonomous car, any autonomous flights, anything dealing with again smart cities, the whole nine. Like all of that is in one, right? So let's see what else she said about edge computing.
Waiting for a server to respond. And you'll need to understand in this role for edge computing things like edge networks, embedded systems, and how to process data in real time. And there's
So when she says data in real time now we got to start talking about, well, I'm getting this data, what I'm gonna do with it. So Kafka, streams, uh, data lake, data warehousing. Where's that data gonna live? How do I process that data? How fast am I processing that data? When you start talking about that, we're talking about caching. We're talking about CPUs, GPUs, We're talking about everything. So we have to be able to process that quickly, make decisions, again, and then remember that data is also getting trained, right? That data is getting received, and some model is training off of that data, right?
Tons of courses online that go through edge computing. And because it's so trendy right now, there's a lot of reading resources as well. Coming in at number 10 is ethical hacking. Yes, hacking can be a
We've
job
heard
and a
this
legal one.
before.
Ethical
Not
hackers are
not
security
new,
pros.
not new on that one. And then let me see. Yeah, and that was it. So these very same concepts have been around for a while, right? I think that maybe prompt engineering might be new, but not really in my world. But again, these are concepts that are, again, we're talking about, like she said, the next decade. I've been telling you about edge computing, satellites, uh 3D models, all of that, for that's gonna, again, to me, all relates back to infrastructure, to me, and it's been around for the last 20 years, and they're not going anywhere. So you can count on that being there. We're we're never not going to have servers. We're never not going to have servers. That's why they keep building all these daggone data centers. We're never not going to have physical hardware. That's not a thing, right? So just putting that in perspective there. All right, so let's get into, let me see, while we're on the subject here. I think it's best we go this route. I want to keep her. I'm gonna minimize her, right? And I'm gonna move this, and I'm gonna go right into this because this is what we were supposed to be at last week. This keeps us in line. All right. So this came out last week. Um, the White House AI czar on the race with China. We've got to let the private sector cook. In other words, number one, we've already declared quantum computing to be a national security threat. So is AI. And we got to be on the edge of that, be foundational. That's why you see the schools for AI, the schools for quantum computing. We need people. We need people smart enough to get in there, start working, start learning, using your brain. I think someone here asked, is there a lot of math behind quantum computing? So let's talk about being in it and being adjacent to it. There are ways to be adjacent to quantum computing. In other words, like the IBM is one, but there are several others. There are people who are DevSecOps engineers for quantum computing and actually building pipelines to deliver software to a quantum computer, right? So you may not have to go and get 15 years of math and a PhD in quantum computing where you could be adjacent, right? So let's look at that. Let's see if that still exists. Let's see. Mm, 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 mm. So I'm pulling back quantum computing and DevOps. This was 7 months ago. And let me pull up jobs. All right, that's Ohio. Quantum computing security jobs, DevOps quantum jobs, senior DevOps at multiverse computing, quantum research international, again being adjacent. They're still DevOps, but they're also working at a company that's for quantum, is working with quantum computing, or working on pipelines to push to quantum to push stuff to a quantum computer. And IBM was the one that I saw that was doing that. Let me look up that. Let me see if that's still a thing. Let's see. See if they got something out there still. Jobs. I'm over here looking. See what they pulling up. And they were based out of New York. Looks like I still see research, superconducting, a research scientist, someone in AI. And I tell you all too, those that are looking at AI, that are looking at jobs, really look at, if you're focused on continuing to go to your PhD, look at the research portion of a lot of these jobs. I'm looking now, and this is what I see here. Right, so I went through. You can go research. You can go infrastructure and technology, so forth. So this is why I pulled back from IBM. I don't see that job. But oh, I'm not on my other computer. So I was gonna pull the job up for DevSecOps engineers at IBM working on quantum on the quantum computer side. I did the interview, got the job. The job was paying 195. They were remote for that position. Was nothing wrong with it. I just didn't I had another job offer that would offer more money, so I took that. But those exist. Let me read some of the comments too while we're here too. I saw a lot of comments. We'll scroll back up. Yeah, ArcGIS. Yep, yep, yep. Oh, you said and Withings has a pad that goes under your mattress just collects data while you sleep. Yep. 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 All right, cool. Make sure I was there. All right, so what did he say? Letting them cook. He was like, and let me blow this up. Oh yeah, you guys could good right there. You can see it. It says for the U.S. to outmaneuver China in the race to be the global leader in artificial intelligence, Washington needs to trash its traditional regulatory playbook in favor of private sector friendly model that aims to out innovate the competition. Right. David Sachs, a Silicon venture capitalist and technologist, and the first person to hold the AI czar role in the White House, a new role. Who knew? Said at AWS Public Sector Summit that he sees it as a job to bridge Silicon Valley and the tech industry on one hand and Washington on the other, to try to bring the point of view that we have towards innovation and growth in technology. Now, let's be clear. The government has been has been working with startups now to work on bringing in startups to solve problems. This is that consortium that Open AI, Meta, and I think Nvidia were creating to go after government contracts. Again, the budget is $1 trillion. We're over here playing games with, you know, little onesie twosies. They're going after billions, right? We're playing the wrong game when it comes to what we're going after. These budgets are huge and they're not going to shrink anytime soon, right? We have to out innovate the competition. We have to win on innovation. Our companies, our founders, they have to be more innovative than even our counterparts, right? In China and other countries the United States is competing with, that's not the case. AI and the cryptos are said Washington needs to avoid its tendency to try to control things, or it risks putting the nation in a position to lose the AI competition. Washington wants to control things, the bureaucracy wants to control things. That's not a winning formula for technology and so forth. Well, part of that is also protection for our own government, right? That part of that is protection on that. All right. Sachs celebrated the Trump administration week one action to rescind the Biden administration AI executive order that fostered 100 pages of, I will argue, unnecessary burdensome regulation on AI companies. Yeah, that's what people say, unnecessary, until it starts affecting their lives. That's what they say. All right. That's what they say. All right. So let's get into this, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was, what does AI look like for Gen X, maybe even millennials, right? What does that look like, right? Again, let's see. Can you see that? It looks a little small, but I'll blow it up a little bit more. That may be better. All right. Gen X and AI, right place, right time, real experience, right? So we've seen, Gen X has seen everything, right? From the cell phones to the cell phones in the car to the big block phones to the flip phone to the chirp to the two-way to the Blackberry. I was listening to the radio the other day. Blackberry is coming back. It seems like the younger generation loves the Blackberry, so that's making its way back. To cordless phones, right? Having a long cord was a thing in the house. You would have a long cord from one bedroom to another bedroom, and you just talk on the phone or whatnot. Hell, even rotary phone to touch phone, right? So there's been an evolution of technology that Gen X just happened to witness right in front of our eyes, from dial up to having actual internet in your house, right? Without the dial up, right? So DSL doesn't mean what y'all think it means, but DSL. All right. All right. I was recently asked which generation is best qualified to lead the implementation of artificial intelligence. I paused to consider, is it millennials who understand technology well, or Gen Z who are in the prime of their careers? My answer right here, right now, is Gen X. It's the generation that transitioned the business world into the digital era. Uh, we've gone from coding with punch cards to managing entire operations from smartphones, and we can do anything and everything in between. We didn't just grow up around technology; we were once responsible for figuring it out and how to apply it at scale. Exactly. I started my distribution career in a branch warehouse on the south side of Chicago, picking orders with paper and a clipboard. Soon we transitioned to symbol head handheld units, and from there the pace of technological change never slowed. Whether it was new hardware, new software, or new business models, it was our generation that was handed the tools and told to make it work. There's no that ain't no manual. Open it up, start playing around, tell me what you find out. Right? We just witnessed that. We didn't just witness the evolution, we operationalize it. That's what makes Gen Z uniquely positioned to lead in a new AI era. We know the technology, and more importantly, we know the business in distribution. That combination matters more than ever, right? We made systems work. That is correct. And from paper to AI, right? A lifetime of operational context. Over the course of our careers, we've moved from warehouses, from paper-based workflows to real-time inventory visibility. We transitioned sales from spreadsheets to CRMs. We've upgraded customer service from call centers to omni-channel digital platforms. Every major system you see today is a modern distribution, has been shaped by Gen X leaders and operators who were expected to figure it out and roll it out. Now AI is arriving. Expectations with similar expectation, but it's not just another tool. It's an entirely new form of technology running through operations, sales, and customer experience. And while many are racing to adopt it, some are equipped to assess whether it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. Right? It says we have seen enough technology waves to know the Y2K was a thing. We've seen we even witnessed it where they said that trucking is going to be obsolete. Truck drivers are going to be obsolete. Hasn't You don't hear that anymore. You don't hear about how truck drivers are going to be obsolete. We don't hear that anymore. Right? It says we've seen enough technology waves to know that that new doesn't automatically mean better. We've experienced enough to know that when AI models recommendation is insightful and when it's just noise. We can spot an AI generated forecast. Does it match the market reality? We can tell when a customer summary misses the real issue, and we can quickly assess whether automation is saving time or just creating a new set of problems, right? And then they go into talk about more with AI, speed, reliability, and so forth, right? So that's the take from, and I get that take from that perspective. But let's go a little bit deeper into here. I don't want to talk about AI stocks. Let's come over here. So I found this online at Byte Go. I'm going to. I can't blow it up. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better, right? All right. So here they're talking about AI concepts. So I wanted to give you this because I wanted you all to understand just the different concepts because you hear these things, but you don't hear those things. All right, let me read these comments real quick, and then I can say, Tim, I got a quick question. I thought to myself how to build. I taught myself how to build AI agents. Want to position myself to create an AI data company. I know the ecosystem alone will be plentiful. Am I looking at? Yeah, I mean that's fine. Start small and then build around it, right? The biggest opportunity in AI is not the AI, but the data that feeds the AI. Yep. Um Again, what are you doing using the AI agent for, and who's gonna help? What data are you using to help that AI agent? And he's right. What how are you looking at it, right? Who's gonna utilize it? That's one of the big things, right? So, machine learning, core algorithms, statistics, models, training techniques. Is statistics hard? No. I think statistics is one of probably the easier ones to learn, if you ask me for math. Besides addition and subtraction and multiplication, but that's you asking me. Right. Number two, deep learning. Hierarchical neutral networks learning complex representations automatically. Yeah, I think stats is the easiest to learn. So they got machine learning. Y'all have heard of machine learning. I have another I think I got another one here too. Let me look. Let's see. Did I put it up here? Yeah. So deep learning neural networks, layer architecture, efficiently model nonlinear relationships accurately. I talked about this before. Natural language processing techniques to process and understand natural language text. That is, you'll see that on your phones. You see that predictive texting, those things, right? Computer vision, algorithms interpreting and analyzing visual data effectively, right? I want to say I think the airport probably has the one for computer vision. Let me just double verify and make sure I'm not telling you wrong. But that's my first glance at uh as far as computer vision. Airports, um yeah, transportation, anything logistics is normally my thought process when it comes to computer vision. Next one, reinforcement learning distributes traffic across multiple servers for reliability. So you have the environment, and we have the state, the agent, and the action. So reinforcement is training over this over this pattern here. Generative models, creating new data samples using learned distributions. And of course, you all know about LLMs. I mean, you've heard that, you've seen it, nothing new there. Transformers, self attention based architecture powering modern AI models. So, transformers. Let me look that one up. Let me give you a better definition of that. All right. So, transformers and AI are a type of deep learning model architecture introduced in the paper Attention is All You Need. This is in 2017. They are especially powerful for handling sequential data such as text, code, or time series, and they revolutionized natural language processing. What makes transformers special? At the core, transformers is the attention mechanism, particularly self-attention, which allows the model to weigh the importance of different words or tokens. So emphasis on the words, right? So emphasis on the words. And we look at whose applications of transformers are chatbots, GitHub Copilot for code generation, audio transcription, image capturing, text summarization, the whole thing with Gemini. All right, so that's where you're seeing uh those use cases of transformers. Feature engineering, never heard of it. Designing informative features, significantly improving model performance. Let's look at that. Let's see what they say about feature engineering. Let's see. All right. So, feature engineering is the process of creating, transforming, or selecting input variable features to improve the performance of a machine learning model. Think of it as preparing and enhancing raw data so that the machine learning algorithm can make better predictions. So I asked for an example of this, and they just gave me an example of predicting house prices. Is the example that it gave me, right? So in feature engineering, they have different types: transformation, creation, extraction, and selection. Right. So I think this is along that lines here. Supervised learning learns useful representations without labeled data. The Bayesian learning incorporates uncertainty using probabilistic model and approaches. Prompt engineering, we saw that. AI agents, we've talked about that. Y'all seen that. Fine tuning models, customize pre trained models for domain specific tasks. Multimodal models processes and generates across multiple data types. Embeddings transforms input into machine readable vector formats and vector search, find similar items using dense vector embeddings, model evaluation, assessing predictive performance using validation techniques and AI infrastructure, deploying scalable systems to support AI operations. Again, you don't have to be in AI, to in order to actually deploy the infrastructure for AI. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, yeah, Gemini does make a lot of mistakes. It's still in its infancy. Give it some time. Give it some time. Computer vision is the biggest problem. Is they call YOLO and reinforcement learning. It's what autonomous cars are used to train cars. Transformers are the main drivers for BERT and Chat GPT. Feature engineering are used to distinguish variables using different algorithms, backward propagation, forward propagation. Yep. Feature engineering takes which features are important in selling a house, such as the bedroom size, so forth, so on. Yep, and go from there. So these are, I'm gonna pull this up because it kind of goes into what we've been talking about. Hold on. So I hope this kind of breaks it down for you as well. All right. So I pulled this from Byte Go, and they're talking about what's the difference between machine learning versus deep learning versus generative AI. Now remember, at the forefront of all this is still AI. All right, and then the different variants. Let me. Did I leave my thing over there? Nope. Need to find out what I said. Let me see. Let me minimize this. All right, cool. Be back. All right. So we have AI. Now around AI, we have computer vision, which we just talked about. We talked about all this. We didn't talk about cognitive computing. machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, and natural language processing. So let's talk about cognitive computing. Let's give some examples of that. And let me know in the chat if you're liking this or not. All right. So for cognitive computing, cognitive computing refers to systems that simulate human thought process in complex situations. It combines AI, machine learning, natural language processing, and human interaction to mimic the way the brain works, especially for understanding and reasoning. Some key characteristics are adaptive, interactive, contextual, and iterative. So it says an example of this is a healthcare assistant. A cognitive system used in healthcare system might read and interpret medical literature, analyze a patient's electronic health records, understand the doctor's written notes written in natural language, and compare symptoms and suggest and diagnose paths or treatments. A good example of this is IBM Watson for oncology. It ingests thousands of cancer research papers and patient cases, then recommends personalized treatment options to the doctor. I'm going to check. Right. So again, when we're looking at, I'm just talking to everyone at this point, but really more Gen X, is we have AI and then you got all these different pieces centered around it. Now, when you look at natural language processing, it's you see it every day. You just didn't know that you was using that every day. Those healthcare assistants um or agents didn't realize you were using cognitive computing already. Computer vision, you didn't know. Their terms and names you just didn't know. All right, so let's hop down here. So they broke machine learning down, right? So we got machine learning, supervised, labeled, unsupervised, unlabeled, and then reinforcement learning. And then they broke to the far right, they broke it down into classification and regression, clustering, and dim, dimensionality reduction, and then reinforcement learning policy. All right, that's your machine learning. So you got to understand when you're using machine learning and when you're not. All right, so the next one up are your neural networks. We've heard about this. We talked about this. Recognizing what characteristics make up a bird. How are we starting to recognize these things from a picture? I think Part Pit is one of those when we start talking about neural networks. Being able to take a picture of a screw and then had the internet go search who's actually still making that screw and where I can buy it from, right? Same way with your flowers. You take a picture of a flower, it gives you back what it is and how to treat it, right? And then the last but not least is the transformer, which we talked about, but now you get a visual on it, right? How's it going? Encoding, decoding, output, I'm doing fine. So there's a transformer in there that's saying, hey, how should you respond to this? What are the normal, like it's some kind of data gotta get fed in there too, right? Some kind of data needs to get fed in there. All right. So I mean I hope that helped uh, to break the whole AI down for you. Now you can pick around this because I'm tied back to Linux. How does Linux play a part in any of this? How does Linux play a part in any of this? Put in the chat how you think Linux plays a part, and we'll pull and we'll pick it apart. Let's see. Let's say how does Linux play a part in computer vision? Oh, I didn't write my thing. All right. All right. Linux plays a foundational role in computer vision by providing and powerful, stable, and open source platform for developing, deploying, and running computer vision applications. Right. So they gave a common use cases with Linux in computer vision is the edge devices with the Raspberry Pis and the Jetsons, the AI model development. So Linux servers are run frameworks working with PyTorch, TensorFlow, and OpenCV. Autonomous vehicles with Linux on the real time operating system or real time kernels, power sensor fusions, object detection, and decision making. Right, and then surveillance and smart cameras. Embedded Linux runs motion detection, face recognition, live streaming processes, and then medical imaging. Linux systems analyze MRIs using AI models in hospitals or research centers. Right. So, what are some computer vision tools? OpenCV, right? TensorFlow again for running and for training and running deep learning models. GStreamer, right, for real time video pipelines. CUDA on Linux. Got to get that with involved with your GPUs. And then robot operating systems extends to Linux for robotics and vision and integration. A real-time object detection on Linux is running the Jetsons Nano, and then they say install Python, OpenCV, and then PyTorch, and then the pre-trained model and GStreamer for the video output. I mean video input. So just that's just an overall way of how Linux plays a role in AI. So, like I said, you don't have to go to school to be AI adjacent or work with AI. You can do that through Linux. You can work with AI. You can work with deep learning through Linux and start understanding how to build the infrastructure for to support those things. How does that work, right? All right. So now let's get over to our next one. All right. So this is uh so I found this course to talk about system design, and I was gonna pull up the course for service oriented architecture, but this gets into like understanding like we want setting up infrastructure, right? It's a 254-day journey into distributed systems, like understanding what distributed systems are, how to build one. I hold off on this one. I'll hold off on that one. I'll come back to it. And yeah, here's the beginning right here: system design from zero to production. So, understanding how to build out a system from an architect perspective is going to be a phase for you in if as you go on from system administration. And remember, there's different types of architect. You could be a data architect, you could be an infrastructure architect, you could just understand architecture as a whole and never really put your hands on keyboards. You just understand how these pieces play together and then go from there. So again, I'm just pointing out like sometimes it's okay to go get a certificate for a college. And when I say that, I mean like maybe somebody like Georgia Tech has a certificate program for service oriented architecture, or they have a program, a certificate program for AI or something of that nature, or even system engineering. It's nothing wrong with gaining knowledge that way. It's how are you going to use it to make sure it was worth your while you did it, right? My next one up was, let's see, these were the jobs that they had. Um, and so I'm gonna blow that up some more, right? So a senior software engineer at OpenAI was from 245 to 465. Um, and then it's just continues an overview of all of that, the qualification and so forth. The next one was a staff software engineer, ML engineer, machine learning engineer, which we kind of briefly touched over, from 220 to 270. A software engineer, manager, core platform, 220 to 240. Your responsibilities would be manage and mentor team of software engineers to achieve business outcomes. Remember that service oriented architecture where they're talking about the business, excuse me, the business value, right? What is the business outcomes, right? What are we working towards? What outcomes do we want to hit? Ensure team delivers on team's goals, guide the team to build robust architecture, while avoiding premature over investments, business value. See how it keeps coming back as a thing. Collaborate with cross-functional teams and foster engineer growth through coaching, feedback, and tailored development plans. The next one was a web UI, L4, identity and security experiences. All right, so this is from 100 to 720. Let's got drop down here. You'll be working with cross-functional teams to create innovation solutions, focus on product, business, and partner needs for high quality experiences. Lead technical direction for the server-driven UI components and ensure systems are scalable, performant, and reliable. Right? We want all three. And I can go on with the jobs. There's NVIDIA there, there's Square there for a staff iOS engineer, uh, a senior principal machine learning engineer at Red Hat, from 171 to 313,000. Right, you'll be contribute to the PyTorch upstream. Right, contribute to PyTorch into real AI OpenShift AI products, work closely with teams with AI engineering, adhere to architectural and design principles, and learn the architectural concepts that are key for development of the product set, right? And applied machine learning engineer, and then a machine learning engineer. And those are the things that I found on the jobs on their site, right? And then this one here, which I thought was interesting. Let me blow this up. This is Shopify's. Let me back out real quick. This is Shopify's tech stack and tools. So I know you guys are familiar with Shopify. But let's walk up the ladder. All right. So they got machine learning at the bottom with BigQuery, Google Data Flow, so forth and so on. And then CI/CD deployments, right? So they're deploying. You see, notice that Kubernetes is here and here, right? So they need the CI/CD pipeline, and then where does that artifact get exposed to? Then tools to develop on the actual platform. Here's what the tools that they're using, and then finally, but not least, if we keep going all the way up, they talk about the front end, the back end, but they also have the DevOps infrastructure here: Kubernetes, Nginx, Lua, OpenResty, Chef. Like which one? Pick your poison. This is what they're using at Shopify. And then again, the messaging communication. I got all that messaging coming in. I need to put that somewhere. So that means that they got Kafka in there, and they're using the REST API and GraphQL to map things out, right? And then their programming languages, you pick one: Rust, uh, Lua, GraphQL, TypeScript, JavaScript, Rust. Their front end, they got TypeScript again. Remix, I've never heard of Remix as the front end. React, I have, and so forth. So again, I wanted to pull this out because each layer that you see here are jobs. There's a job for back end, there's a job for front end, there's a job for any of these programming languages. Same thing here with the actual database. You can strictly go work in MySQL arena and just install MySQL, get it up and running, do high availability and all that stuff. You can literally go consult for that. BIM cache as well too. Then we got message and communication again, Kafka, the REST API, and so forth. Right. I'm not gonna go all the way down, but you get the drift. Each one of these that you see right here are jobs easily. Meaning I'm a front end developer, I'm a back end developer, I work with databases, right? I'm a DBA, right? So each one is a job. Let me see. Did I lose anybody? Put a one in the chat if you're still keeping up. Make sure I ain't losing nobody. Let me get on the page and so I can see. Make sure I'm not losing folks. Okay. All right. We got 40 people here and 23 likes. That's a shame. All right. Let me pull up my other one. All right, we did that one. So let's have some fun. All right. Before we have fun, I'll make sure I talk about these things and then we'll get into our fun session. All right. Okay. You keeping up, taking notes, Jen J. No problem. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you. All right. So this just came out this morning. I don't shoot the messenger. I don't know why y'all still talking about 50,000. I'm not, I don't know. But it says right here, a family of four needs 300,000 a year to live comfortably in this state. It's not Hawaii or California. And then they go through the reason why I pulled this up is what you actually need for family or what they recommend. Let me say what they're recommending that you need for a family of four in the states. So let me see. Let's go here. All right. So here we go right here. All right. In Alabama, they said for a four-person household, you need 194,000. Alaska 259. But let's go talk about the states that we know that we live in. So Georgia and Florida. In Florida, you need about 217,000 for a family of four. In Georgia, you need 210. Let me see what they got for let's go down to the DMV. So in Maryland, you need 259,000. Right? Let's continue. New York, you need 276. North Carolina, 210. Ohio, 220. South Carolina, 208. Tennessee, I'm surprised. 200,000. Somebody missed that calculation. Texas, 204. and Virginia 241. Washington State 277 and Wyoming 209. But I'm just pointing out to you what they're saying for you and well for you and your significant other to have two kids in the United States. In those states, that's how much you need. Let me look. Yeah, we do need some lights. We do need some lights. Let me look. Let me see if we got the lights up. We got some lights up. That's good. We was looking anemic. We was looking like we needed to be on life support. Hell no, not Alabama. Yeah, Alabama. Alabama. Good old Alabama. All right, so let's keep going. Let's have a little fun. Let's talk money talk. Back to foolish finances. Petty T has arrived. What you said, Jen J? 50K will get you a nice night at the movie theater, and that's about it. Extra 5K for the popcorn. Let's talk about Mr. Billionaire of Telegram. So he's leaving his $14 billion fortune to the 100 plus children he has fathered. Those children come from donating his sperm. And he has 6 kids as well, but he's sharing his love and he wants everyone to have some money. So it says if he does that, he'll leave $132 million to each one of his children. Now, I always thought that when you donated your sperm, you didn't get a chance to know who was using your sperm. So, uh, whatever. So he's leaving this 14 billion. Let's get into it. Oh, they blocked me. That's wonderful. Oh no, I did. All right, cool. All right. Telegram founder Pavel Durov said the over 100 kids he has father would inherit his fortune. This includes his 6 kids. He's an official dad too. At least 100 others born through his sperm bank donations. Each could inherit an eye-watering 132 million from Duval's estate, currently worth 14 billion. Others like Bill Gates, Lauren Powell Jobs, and Guy Fieri aren't being so generous with their offspring. Over 100 Gen Alpha kids are set to one day become overnight millionaires, and they may not even know it. That's because the 40-year-old Telegram founder has his 6 official children with his 3 different partners, but he's also been donating to a sperm clinic for 15 years, which told him he has helped conceive over 100 babies across 12 countries. And luckily for them, they've just been included in Durval's 13.9 billion will, despite potentially not knowing what their wealthy biological father. I wrote my will very recently. Durval told French publication Le Point in a recent interview, I make no difference between my children. There are those who are conceived naturally and those who come from a sperm donation. They're all my children, and we will all have the same rights. I don't want them to tear each other apart after my death. Now, I have questions. Why are they telling him who he has, how many kids he has fathered? I thought it was supposed to be anonymous. Help me understand, fellas. What happens when you go to donate and then like do I know the mothers come in and pick it out, but do y'all talk? I don't know. I don't know. Can he ask? I mean, I'm assuming he can ask, but will they tell? Oh, you can leave your identity open. Mm, well, he gonna end up like that guy on Netflix. What was that guy on Netflix that had fathered all those children, and they all started finding each other? Remember that came out last year? Let me see. Yeah, the man with 1,000 kids. It was a three-part documentary. He was a Dutch guy. Watch the man with 1,000 kids on Netflix site. Jonathan Major, Meigr, Major. Yeah, he had 1,000 kids. This guy with 1,000 kids. 1,000 kids, folks. 1,000 kids. I don't know if he's still at it or not. I don't know if he's still at it or not. But this one right here is this one takes the cake. He said, let me see. He said that means his at least 106 children could each earn 132 million for being related to the Russian-born entrepreneur, but they will have to wait a long time before inheriting that fortune. I decided that my children would not have access to my fortune until a period of 30 years has elapsed. I want them to live like normal people, to build themselves up alone, to learn to trust themselves and so forth. Now he says that, right? He says that. So let me pull this up. I think I posted it in Women in Linux. Let me go there. He says that. But let's talk about it. This is my fun time. Pull this over. Is this Chrome? It is. All right. Let's not be in Chrome.
I have some.
Let's go here. All right. So when reading that, this it reminds me of this video here. Oh, I gotta make it smaller. It won't come over. Hold on. Oh, why is it being? I don't know why it's being like this. Oh, because I'm in big mode over here. Let me get out of that. That's why I won't come on. Okay, it reminds me of this. I don't know if you guys watched this video. Okay, so those that didn't know, we usually do a Foolish Finance Friday. I usually do like my uh I usually do my talks on stupid things or foolish things people have done with money. Hadn't done it in a long time. Figured I wanted to do it today. All right, so this ties back into the guy saying, "Hey, he want his kids to do go off and do great things." All right, so the story behind this one is she's really had never had to work. Um, didn't have to because her parents took care of her. So we're gonna play a little bit of it, and then I'm gonna keep going, and you guys can watch it. But let's play.
To show for it in numbers, but I have something to show for it in numbers, but what do I have to show for it in real life?
I'm constantly trying to make sure that nobody thinks I'm here for the money.
It would still feel like I was asking parents permission because they're the ones that set it up for me.
I don't feel entitled to the money that we're spending.
I wasn't expecting to get emotional about it, but I feel as though I haven't felt worthy of having that.
All right. So they got assets of 1.25 million. They have investments of 552,000, savings of 206,000, debt of 71,000 for a total net worth of 1.8 million. It's not his money. It's hers. It's not his, it's hers. As some people would like to say, it's theirs. However, as long as she does not commingle, her assets is her money. Right? And then people will say, well, the man gives it up. He don't have to. He don't have to. That man don't have to. If that man inherit $4 million, he don't have to share it with his wife. He can leave that 4 million over there and just continue living on. And in fact, there is a Dave Ramsey show that came out and saying, hey, he got called in. He's like, hey, I don't know what to do. I have not told my wife that I'm worth 12 million. I have 12 million in the bank. And I've not told my wife, my soon to be wife, she's a fiance. She's a mother of 3 children. He's like, I have not told her that I have money like that. And I want to get married, and we want to bring a prenup into it, but he was like, I don't know what to do with that prenup and so forth, and how I present that to her, and without telling her my wealth. And so they were like, well, what do you mean you haven't told her your wealth? Y'all getting ready to get married and move in and share this life together, this, that, and other. He was like, yeah, but I don't know. I love her, but I need her to sign this prenup. And I think she's a school teacher. She has some. He said that she has very minimal debt, but her parents are sick, and her parents are of the age, and also I think they needed to move in together with the parents or something of that nature, or but the parents have debt, and he was like, they're struggling, and he's like, I want to help them, but I can't let her know that I got this 12 million, right? So this is the opposite. She's told him she has cash. So let's get into it.
Why is that? Because your parents helped you?
Being raised with a kind of depression era mentality left me feeling like if I don't save, I won't have. And that was scary.
I instantly knee jerk to defensiveness and feeling like she's questioning why I want to spend $50.
Holy can you just imagine 30 years? Basically, it should be a ton of money. Today, I'm speaking with Kate and Keith. Kate is 45, Keith is 53. They have a very fascinating story. They live part-time in Hawaii, part-time in Maine. Right now, I'm looking at their conscious spending plan, and you can download your own free copy at iwt.com/CSP. Looking at their numbers, it's honestly quite puzzling. Their net income is listed at $30,000 a year, but their fixed costs are 126%. That's a huge red flag.
Now, $30,000 a year. You telling me these two, $30,000 a year? I think she's only been I think I think together they had a combined of 80,000. And then I think COVID hit and some changes happened, but he's not bringing in a whole bunch of money either. I think she's bringing in 13,000 and he bringing in what, maybe 20, 27, give or take. All right, let's go.
It means they spend more than they make. But then we look at their net worth. They have assets of $1.2 million, $552,000 invested, and $206,000 in savings. That's a huge amount of cash alone to have in a savings account. Their debt is $71,000, which gives them a net worth of $1.8 million.
Now, I don't even know why they're carrying debt of $71,000. I mean, that don't make sense to me unless it's his debt. I don't know, but whatever.
These numbers just don't make a lot of sense. Who makes $30,000 but has $552,000 of investments and $1.2 million in assets? I wanted to understand all of their numbers, so I brought in our partners at Facet to analyze their numbers and help them understand their exact options customized to exactly what they want in their rich life. I am not a member of Facet and have an incentive to endorse Facet as I have an ongoing fee-based contract for cash compensation ready to handle it.
No. Probably not. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have reached out to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel as though I need to have a better understanding, a better education in order to make the right choices, because otherwise that money won't get touched.
Okay. Keith, what about you? Where are you in this?
That's a good question. I'm constantly trying to make sure that nobody thinks I'm here for the money.
As in, you are worried about people thinking you're...
Is he there for the money? Is you or is you ain't? What are your thoughts?
Like here to latch on to that.
Yeah, and it's weird because nobody thinks that. It's just this weird underlying current. I don't want to make a wrong step and have somebody question, like, did he only do that because we have money? Or, you know what I mean?
If we have an awesome conversation today, like 10 out of 10, what would each of you walk out of here with?
I would have a strong sense of a plan. It feels like right now there's all sorts of puzzle pieces and no cohesive way of understanding how they fit together. It feels like in order to understand what's possible, I need to understand how to organize it all.
Okay, a plan. Got it. Keith, how about you?
I think I would walk out of here with a wife that feels like she's got her plan in order and she doesn't have to stress about it, and we can go.
So here's a question for fellas and the ladies. You're about to inherit, I don't know, $1.8 million. And you love your significant other, wife or husband. Would you let your husband take control of the 1.8 million, or would you let your wife take control of the 1.8 million? Yeah, put yes or no in the chat. How much do you trust that person?
Out to dinner and not worry about what we're spending on dinner.
Okay, let me read back what you both told me, because it's really important for me to know what you want to get out of this. So Kate, you said 10 out of 10, we have an amazing conversation. You would walk out of here with a plan. Keith, you said 10 out of 10, amazing conversation. Kate would walk out of here with a plan.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the tenor when the two of you talk about money? How would you describe the feelings you have?
We have plenty of paths of talking about money that end up in hurt feelings or defensiveness. I have 2 kids from a previous marriage.
So if she don't commingle, if she don't have nothing to protect, that money go to him. It go to him. Purple Ring, you said no, you're not giving up. You're not gonna let your significant other. No.
And Kate's an amazing person in their lives and is very generous, and that's not really the issue. But the issue is when something comes up and I say I want to throw $50 at one of them for one thing or another, and Kate asks a perfectly innocent question like why, or is there something else we could do? Like, could we get them a gift or something like that? I instantly knee-jerk to defensiveness and feeling like she's questioning why I want to spend $50.
And then what happens?
I get defensive and closed in, and she senses that, and she gets defensive and closes in, and then we kind of wrap up the conversation and wait till the dust settles.
Do you spend the $50?
So I have, like, occasionally over the past few years done some web development, and I will often go to that money before taking out of our money so that I don't have to ask for permission. I will tell her about it. I'm not being secretive or anything about it, but I'll just
What is our money? Is it the 30,000 or the 1.8?
take from that money and do the things I want to do, whatever they happen to be, so that I can just do it because it's my money and I don't have to ask for permission or anything like that.
But they're your kids. You should.
Would you say it works?
It works because we don't talk about it.
Okay. Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar to a lot of couples. As long as we can avoid talking about money, we're okay. It's when we talk about it, that's when the fights start. Okay.
I wouldn't call them fights.
Well,
Investment.
So here we go right here. Let's get to the money.
I had to downsize that business because of health issues that I've been experiencing. So we still do freelance photography work, but it's more like smaller scale portraits and proposals. And then Keith had been working as a handyman before he met me. And so I joined him in that. So we just started transitioning into being in Hawaii half the year and Maine half the year. And so in Maine, we do the photography more. And in Hawaii, we do more of the contractor type work.
okay. So you have handiwork part-time and wedding photography part-time. Those are the two jobs. I just want to get to your numbers. All righty. Kate, can you read off the words in bold and
Yeah,
then
she
the
got health
number
issues.
in full next to that? Let's do that for this entire box, please.
All right. Assets, 1,205,000. Investments, 552,000. Savings, 206,000. Debt, 71,207. Total net worth, 1,891,793.
Okay, great. And let's go down to your income here. Keith, can you read off your combined gross monthly income?
I think it says 0.
Yeah. But then your net has another number. What's the net?
It says $2,500.
Okay, so you couldn't calculate the gross, so you just put the net, right?
I have no idea where we got those numbers.
Okay, Kate?
It was so hard. I just took the last year and figured I would just use that as the answer
Again,
because it changes
so
year to year
for-
and it
for-
feels difficult.
For this,
And so
when I was going through it, it seems like her mom and them have been taking care of her. Now, I don't know what all he does. If they're doing photography and he's talking about he got web development, it seems like they hobbying. And she's like, I'm not spending shit. And that's what it seems like to me. But he's like, but we got the money, babe. And it sounds like she's like, no, I have the money that I share with you when I feel like it.
I took the last year and I just went through and added up everything that we brought in from that. And then I started getting really confused and I kind of lost steam and just said, well, I'm not sure. So I'm just going to fill in what I know.
All right. So you have $2,500 a month take home. That's combined $30,000 a year. Have you always made $30,000 or did that change?
Nope. We were making significantly more before I got sick and hope to get back there.
How much were you making at the peak?
I would say at the height, we were probably just over 80,000.
Okay. So 80,000 versus 30,000 is a significant difference. Okay. Do you mind if I ask about the illness that you've referred to?
Sure. I got sick with COVID about 2.5 years ago, and that basically ended up in what is clinically called long COVID, but is.
And let's be clear, this is the money that she got right now is one part. Her mother and father gave her this money, and it seems like she's also an only child, from what I gather. And they've always taken care of her all her life. She's never really seem like she had to struggle or work for anything. It was just, we'll get you this and we'll get you that and we'll get you this. Don't worry. I want to know what her mama and daddy do. That's what I want to know. Who your people, Harpo? What do they do? Right? Because it seems, because here's the other part in this video, and you guys can go watch it. They have put away, and this is what Ramit was talking about in the beginning of it, that they put away some amount of money into some, I don't know if it was an annuity or something like that. Anyway, the money has been in there like 20 or 30 years, and it should be like 5 to 6 million, but it's not. No,
Chronic fatigue syndrome. So I haven't been able to have the physical energy to sustain a lot of work.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
How do you make that work with the 2 businesses that you run?
It's essentially where Keith comes in. His involvement allows me to keep working. So if there's something that I am not having the capacity to do, he steps up and takes on more. And so that's been something I'm super grateful for.
Keith, what was it like for you when Kate got sick and you realized for the time being you had to step up? What was that like?
Let's break down the numbers.
It felt good to be able to be in a place where I could do that and know that we were in a place financially that we were.
So this how she feels.
How'd you get $1.8 million in net worth?
A lot of privilege. My parents have set me up in a way that I didn't have to incur a lot of debt. So I didn't have college debt or a lot of the traditional debts that people would incur, auto debt, anything like that.
So they paid for your college. Fine. They paid for your car?
Yes.
And they paid for your medical. We know that. Housing? They pay for that?
In a roundabout way, yes. Because when I first took out a home loan, I got a traditional mortgage and then lost my job. And so I took a private mortgage out through them.
Through your parents?
Yes.
What was the interest rate they charged you?
3%.
3%?
Yeah.
I kind of like that they charged you interest at all. That's cool.
It had to be legit because they were advised that if it's too low, then it's considered a gift with the IRS. It had to be somewhat legit.
Okay. So yes, you had a lot of help from your parents. I understand that. But that doesn't automatically mean you have $1.8 million. Did they put the money in your investment accounts?
They put the money in my trust. So that, but no, the money from the investment accounts is from, I'm just a saver, and I sold my house and made a profit. And so I put it in an investment account. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I have always, before Keith, lived really minimally and just stockpile.
What's happening right now, like with your body language? You look very embarrassed, like you're on your back foot. Why is that? Like even right now, in this very second.
Yeah.
Why do you have a smile like that versus a smile like this?
Because I haven't really allowed myself to enjoy a lot of things in life. And so I've definitely done a lot of changes in the last.
So she's scared to have money. And that happens. But I think that comes from also a place of, one, she probably she doesn't feel worthy. That's what it says. I don't feel worthy of having this money because she didn't work for it. So she doesn't feel worthy for it. But go check out the video of where the tables is turned and she has the wealth and she's also scared of it, right? She's scared of that wealth. It's a good video. I think part 2 comes out today, so I'll be looking at that today. So why did I bring all of this up? Who cares, Tameika? Who cares about that? Nobody cares. All right, so we should care because last year the US added 379,000 millionaires. So the American population grew by 379,000 to 23.8 million. So again, we grew our Millionaires. The United States has the most millionaires in the world, in case you didn't know, right? Much of that wealth came from strong markets, stable dollar, which both have been disrupted so far by 2025 by the trade war and recession fears. Even among the richest, there is a wealth gap, right? So let's continue down here. It says the United States is the home for the most millionaires of any country with a tally of 23.8 million. You never know who could be a millionaire. You never know who could be a millionaire, right? According to the new reports by UBS, the Swiss bank estimated the U.S. minted 379 millionaires last year, one more or more than 1,000 each day, for an increase of 1.5. Mainland China came up to 6.3 million, up 2.3%. They added 141,000 millionaires. Turkey millionaire population increased by 8.4%, up to 87,000. Let me see. Let me continue. The worldwide millionaire population rose by more than 684,000 to some 60 million, due to a large part to increasing real estate values. However, this growth was disparate geographically, with some countries losing share. Japan lost 33,000 millionaires with its shrinking population. So, just to put it into some context, here's the aggregate wealth of the world's billionaires in 2024. The total wealth by bracket for people with a billion or more. So, with it's 860 billionaires that go from 1.5 billion to 50 billion. But there's 15 people who got 100 plus in billions, and 16 people with 50 to 100 billion. Who are the people that got 100 billion or more? Who are those people? And who are those that are between 50 and 100? Right? It says at the very top, the 15 center billionaires, less than 1% of the group, boast a combined net worth of 2.4 trillion. And then, see, do I have it here? Nope, I don't have it. Let me look. I thought I put it up here. Let me look at my notes. Thought I put it up there. Hold on. Check out my channel. That's 48. Mm, is this it? Nope, that's not it. Mm, yeah, that's the CNBC one. Yeah. I'm looking for the one where it says the path. It's one that's out there that talks about the path people took to become um billionaires. But I do want to pull this one up. This is where I want to go to. So when I was doing this search, I wanted to make sure that we have a clear conversation. So we saw the lady. She's inherited this money she's not comfortable with. She's married to a guy. He wants a $36,000 truck. Rameet's telling him that's more than what you make. He's like, I don't care about that. Let me do a thumbs up again. Let's see. Do it again. Did it come on screen again? Thumbs up. No, it didn't do it. All right. So I pulled this because I like Financial Samurai. He cracks me up. Anyway, he says, your chances of becoming a millionaire by race, age, and education. And I thought that was very important, because I just want to get the take of what other people think and how they see other races and what path do they see. All right, so everybody wants to be a millionaire. Unfortunately, not everybody chances of being a millionaire are the same. Um, and I always ask this question: how do you calculate if somebody is a millionaire? Is that liquid? Are you going by liquid? Are you going by real estate? Are you going by the combination of the two? Does it matter? What does that look like? Because you can have somebody who's got 4 homes and that they're a millionaire, depending on if they're paid off or whatever the case may be. Or we're going by liquid, or we're going by crypto, or we're going what how are we measuring these things? Does it matter? I don't know. All right, so it says get into at least $1 million in net worth, right? In net worth is a milestone to achieve. However, due to inflation, you need more than 3 million to live the traditional millionaire lifestyle. Thankfully, I'm firmly believe majority of the people reading Financial Samurai, other financial sites, will be able to achieve millionaire status. All right, so let's get down here where he talks about it. We talked about the millionaires in America. I talked about that. Your chances of becoming a millionaire. And I talked about this before. So I'm glad I actually found this again because it gives you some good insight. All right. So this is where people gonna get offended. And it's okay. You just know how the visuals, I think the visuals help with that. And for those that have been here before, you've seen this before. It says white and Asians see better odds with more education regardless of age. Improvements are less pronounced for blacks and Hispanics. So here, let me scroll up right there. All right. It's showing here that with a 95% confidence, um, Asians have an average chance. Now it says B with a bachelor's degree. That's what the B stands for. If we come up here with M, that's a master's degree, right? But if you go over here and you look at white, they get a better chance with a bachelor's degree and a better chance with a master's degree. But when you start coming over here to black, even with blacks and even with blacks, even with a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, it's still not as high as it is with Asians and whites. All right. It's a no go on if if you got anything less than a high school diploma. It's just a no go. You're not even making it. So let's go down into here. All right, the chart says that the more education you receive, the higher your chances of becoming a millionaire across all races. It says this makes sense since high-paying jobs are often require higher levels of education, lawyer, doctor, executive manager, and scientist. However, thanks to the free online learning and shorter specialty school programs, a college degree is slowly getting devalued. It says chances of becoming a millionaire without a high school degree by race is 6% for Asians, 5% for white, 2% for Hispanic, and 1% for black. Without a high school degree, you practically have no chance of becoming a millionaire across all races. It says with an associate degree, we're still at 1% with blacks, 2% with Hispanics, 7% with white, 3% with Asians. For Asians, your chances of becoming a millionaire are actually higher if you only have an high school degree versus an associate's degree. Perhaps this is due to the prevalence of more Asian small businesses. If you are Hispanic or black, the percentage probability of becoming a millionaire does not change if you have a high school degree or associate's degree. Chances with a bachelor's degree, white and Asian, 16 to 18%, Hispanics and black is 3% to 4%. Meaning, yeah, you wouldn't have got your bachelor's, but not the chance of you becoming a millionaire is slim. It says if you are Hispanic or Black, this data should make you very wary of getting into student loan. Please apply for many scholarships and grants. If you're Asian, getting a college degree significantly increases your odds of becoming a millionaire. Chances of becoming a millionaire with a master's degree: 6% for Black, 11% for Hispanics, 38% for white, and 27% for Asians. By time someone has a master's degree, chances of becoming a millionaire is similar across all races. However, the difference between the percentage between white and Black is striking. If a white person, if I was a white person, a master's degree is exactly what I would get. Maybe just not a master's degree in history or journalism. It won't if you want to become a millionaire. Unless Hispanic and Black people are getting a master's degree in low lying or low paying fields, the huge percentage discrepancy seems too egregious. Put it differently, the chance of a Black person with a master's degree of becoming a millionaire is the same as an Asian person with only a high school degree. So your master's degree is equivalent to an Asian person with a high school degree, and the chances of becoming a millionaire. The master's degree percentage discrepancy between whites and Blacks is the strongest evidence of systemic racism. I'm not talking about one person hurling a racial slur at another. I'm talking about things like the private club, where it was only originally 100 whites for only 70 years. Today, the club still says it's open to all races, but to get in, you need to have 5 letters of recommendation from existing members. If you are a minority, you will have a harder time getting this support to network together. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. Yeah, people tend to take care of their own. Look, I think that's it. Okay. Says the older you are, the greater your chances of becoming a millionaire. This is obvious thanks to compound returns. The earlier you can start investing, the better you will be. Most of Warren Buffett's wealth came after his 60th birthday. Everybody's chance of becoming a millionaire improves up until the age of 61. But after 61, the chances for Hispanics and Blacks to become millionaires declines. So they're talking about by age. So the older Asians get, their ability to become millionaires, right here is, I guess, is the average chance right here, and goes down. But look, our peak is 41 to 61, and then after 61, we're just on the maintain. We don't our trajectory doesn't go up. So that's it. That says a few things: wrong investments, a lot of things. It's interesting to note the slopes for Asians and whites are much steeper. Asians and whites have significantly higher chances of becoming millionaires as they age, likely due to higher representation of Asians and whites in higher paying industries. Right. Another hypothesis is that Asians white make a greater representation of investors in stocks, bonds, and real estate at all ages. Given the investments don't differentiate between races, investments tend to keep appreciating after the age of 61. All right. I wanted to bring that to you because I wanted to put that right there for you to see. And I wanted to put that right there for you to see because that's just one stat. That one stat should not define your path, your trajectory, and who you are. Just know there are ways that you can become a millionaire. I talked about it in episode 124 with being a W 2 millionaire. I talked about it with how you can set yourself up all through infrastructure and Linux. You can also include that video that we talked about today with edge computing and so forth. But this number doesn't have to be that number. It doesn't have to be that number. This number we can flip this number. And I know we can do it with in tech through infrastructure. I won't even say cybersecurity, but just security of things, security at the edge, security of cars, security of so even if like back going back to that instance with the bed reading your metrics and stuff, you still want to have some security and protections around your data that you're exposing to someone, right? So we got to get in the mindset of look, at the end of the day, that's just a number. But that number can change. It's not a stagnant number. It's not fixed. Like we can't invite no more millionaires to the black club, right? No black people, we can't have no more millionaires, right? It's not a finite number. It's all about how we do it and collectively do it. So I challenge you today to come up with a plan on one, improving your skill sets, and two, to become that millionaire. And listen, in that show, I talked about it where you can do it in 10 to 20 years. If you want to do it earlier, you can do it earlier. You don't you don't have to wait for permission to be the best. Stop waiting for permission to be the best. Just be the best. Like I tell you all the time, I seek to destroy the competition. Not because I'm being an ass. It's just because I'm always gonna try to be one, two, three, four, five, 6 steps ahead, right? And you can do that. You see where the information and where tech is going. I don't care if you go work at a hospital, they got tech in the hospital, right? Purple Rain, you said, yeah, but Buffett went to an elite business school where he studied under the Godfather Value Investor. Plus, he has family in Congress. That's not the same starting point. Of course not. Nothing is never the same starting point, right? But my point to all of this, to tell you all this information, is Americans face very different chances, even if they're around the same age and attain a similar level of schooling. Below are the odds for middle-aged college education Americans to become millionaires. 22% for Asians, 1 out of 5. 21% for whites, 6.8% for Hispanics, and 6.4 for black. We don't have to be at the end of that, right? Right. And so here they just talk about Asian American family divorce rates are particularly stable, divorcing at half the rate of other Americans. And they talk about basically right here, this they're saying that's all women, right there under the white line. And then here is black, right? So divorce rates, right? Um see, looking to see what they talk about it. So they go into more about how to become how to increase your chances of becoming a millionaire. Read professional finance sites every day. Sure, you gotta run the numbers, but you gotta also have discipline. Do what the average person won't do to become a millionaire. I think the average person, the one average thing that most people won't do is read. So that's half the battle right there. They're saying invest and create multiple streams of income. Get motivated by stats and don't quit too soon, right? But again, higher paying jobs. I just wanted to bring this to you so you all have, when you walk away, okay, how does AI play into this? How's edge computing play into this? How do I marry Linux? How do I marry networking, infrastructure, all these things? How do I how do I marry these things so I can be on the not just on the edge, but provide the business value and at the same time get paid for my provisions. What I'm providing should also pay, right? So I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, always read the fine print. Of course, the stats only tell a part of the story. Exactly, it doesn't tell the whole story, but at least give you an idea of what the vision is, right? What we're looking at. I just told you how many millionaires we added last year. 329, 379. How many were black? How many black millionaires are there out there, right? So pulling those stats, how can we change that? How can we be better towards each other? And how can we win? I thank y'all for coming out. We went over about 14 minutes, but it's okay. I appreciate you for hanging out. You all be safe.